And welcome back. It is time now for our crack legal and political team to offer us their analysis. We are joined by KATV's Capitol reporter and weekend anchor, Janelle Lilley, and our Talk Business and Politics legal analyst, political analyst, Dustin McDaniel. Thank y'all for being here.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about this crazy, dramatic, all kinds of questionable legal activity and action at the state capitol this week. Give me the pros and cons of the legality of this line item veto. Dustin, I'll let you go first.
Well, first of all, it's really good to say that the legislature gave it a little time, because I believe that the first idea was not nearly as safe legally. It was a good idea. Their plan was to insert language that would negate the Medicaid expansion, vote for the appropriation, and then delete in a line item veto the negative language. So a bait and switch, basically. And you've already talked about the politics of that, so we'll stick to the law.
Right.
But the politics helped, because when the politics erupted, they were forced to think about it over the weekend, and the governor's already been very gracious to say that rising Democratic star Representative Clark Tucker took to the books and basically said, well, if you fundamentally modify the meaning of an appropriation, a line item veto isn't going to withstand scrutiny. So basically they just changed the expiration date, and I believe that realistically there's no challenge that can overturn what they've done.
What's your take, Janelle?
You know, I think the politics played a big role in changing the way they viewed the law on this one. If they hadn't been so upfront about it politically, what it was going to look like, folks wouldn't have really taken to the books like Clark Tucker did. So the fact that the opponents threatened a lawsuit, I think really put some weight behind that, and folks started looking into it. It really did. And the amendment itself, the way it was written, as Dustin just mentioned, the way it was drafted the first time, it wasn't as severable, which is the word that, in the opinion you had sent me earlier, is what seemed to be the key there. Is it something that you can remove from the document and it doesn't actually change what it fundamentally is, or is it something that's like actually innate within the legislation itself? And the severability seems to be the big key for winning here.
The court's going to want to review this if this legal challenge does materialize, which is a possibility, and legislative intent is obviously going to be some part of that debate, is it not?
Well, in Arkansas, legislative intent really doesn't come into a court challenge. It's what's within the four corners of the statute, and what was in there, what passed the legislature, and then what was removed by the line item veto does not in any way change the underlying legislation. That's the key. But the first go around, and Janelle's exactly right, the opponents that cried lawsuit one step too soon, they gave up their strategy, and they caused everybody to go do some research. And ironically, if they'd have kept their mouths shut, they might have had a bill that they could have defeated in a court challenge.
There's certainly a better argument for it.
Much better. In fact, I think they really couldn't have sustained a court challenge on the original version of this. But what they've done now, I think, is very clean.
Senator Jonathan Dismang says they may come back and go even a step further, Janelle. I mean, he's talking about putting maybe a longer expiration date in there.
The governor kind of poo-pooed that the other day. He said he really didn't think it was necessary. I think he feels very comfortable with what the law is right now and where it stands. I don't know that he necessarily is in favor of doing that, but, you know, to comfort others might consider whether or not he would consider doing that. It really.
I mean, it's a belt and suspenders tactic.
Yeah, he
for
called
something.
it double tying a knot in your shoe sort of thing.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. I think he feels very solid with
But most
laws right now.
importantly about what they've done is they've taken the dishonesty out of the process. Passing a bill with an altered expiration date, that the altered expiration date is deleted, no problem. I mean, that really doesn't do anything substantive. Passing a bill that says we absolutely positively will not fund this, and then you just go delete the word not to make it we absolutely positively will fund this, that's a bait and switch that makes it impossible to defend politically.
I did want to say, though, the one thing that I have heard from several people on the opposition side is that maybe even if they can't win it now that the language has been changed, there might be still a challenge for special language. How far we've pushed the bill on special language, and whether that's something we need to reconsider as a legislature. I've heard that from at least 3 representatives who have this issue has brought that to light for them personally.
I'm getting the wrap sign here. A legal challenge does come, though, yes?
It'd be a
They-
waste of time and money. I don't see them doing it. If they do, they lose.
All right, Dustin McDaniel, Janelle Lilley, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.